What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another album review, and today I am talking about the debut offering from Octoploid with Beyond the AEONS. This also came out on July 5th, this time on Reigning Phoenix Music, as that label just continues to pump out releases this year. And like I said, this is the debut album from this group. This is largely a side project from Ollie from Amorphous and Barren Earth, so this is basically his baby, and this is described as progressive melodic death metal, and I would say that's pretty accurate for the most part on here. Definitely, I think it leans more towards prog than it does melodeath, but the interesting thing about this album is like there is numerous different keyboardists, but the one constant really that's the head of the songwriting is Ollie Pika Lane from Amorphous and Barren Earth, but there's so many guest vocalists. And, well, why don't we talk about them? So, there are 3 tracks on here, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about these 3 songs that feature Mikko Katamaki from Swallow the Sun, who is one of my favorite vocalists today. He does the following songs: The Dawns and Nothingness, The Hollowed Flame, and Concealed Serenity. Now, The Dawns and Nothingness, this one kind of goes for more of that, like, melodic death metal feel. Like, it's got some double time and rocking guitars, and there's some nice little gallops and melodies on here. Strange keyboard parts, though. Like, the first half of the song kind of goes for a little bit of that melodeath vibe, but as it goes on, it gets more and more proggy, almost to the level of, I would say, Rush. Like, there's some Rush vibes that kind of come in out of nowhere as the song continues, and even some organs and clean vocals, which I will always love Mikko's clean vocals. But then later on with The Hollowed Flame, that song might have been one of my favorites on the entire album because it sounds so vastly different from everything else. Like, it sounds more 70s based and blues based. Like, it's quite bluesy, the melodies are quite tasteful, and it's predominantly clean vocals, mainly in the verses, but the chorus is more the death metal vocals, so Mikko kind of going for the Dan Swano vibe, and that's the verses for the girls and the choruses for the guys, the way Swano describes it. But the Hammond organ, I will never complain about hearing a Hammond organ in music in general, but there's even towards the end a heavy off-time riff. But then with Concealed Serenity, this track has a melody that to my ear kind of reminds me a little bit of Opeth, but it's more, I would say, psychedelic inspired within the songwriting, and it's another one that's more predominantly clean vocals as well, and even some of the Mellotron, which I do like hearing Mellotron in metal because it kind of gives it that more atmospheric sound. But yeah, those 3 songs with Mikko I thought were pretty cool. Then we get back to earlier in the album, we get to Coast of the Drowned Sailors featuring Tomi Koi Vasari from Amorphous and Yonitor from Zizma. Both these guys doing the death metal vocals. Like, this song is mostly on the death metal side of the scale, but there's some like classic heavy metal gallops, but it has a bit of that prog rock feel. And of course, there's like some sweet leads. Like, the lead work on this album's pretty tasteful, but this song you get lead trade-offs with the guitars and the keyboards. And again, some clean vocals kind of get snuck in towards the end. Human Immoral, this one featuring Tome Yautsen, the main frontman of Amorphous. And this one definitely is one of the songs that sounds the closest to Amorphous. Like, you get this big, like, folky choir, clean guitars with some cool bass. And I gotta say, the bass work that Ollie's putting on with this album, mwah, it was just masterfully done and audible in the production, although I'll talk more about the production after I get through the tracks. But with Human Immoral, yeah, it sounds like Opeth meets Amorphous. Like, it has a little bit of that, like, triumphantness of Amorphous, but with some of the melodies and riffage of Opeth, and even some cool guitar harmonies. But out of nowhere, a couple times on this track, nasty tremolos that feel like Morbid Angel. And again, keyboard solos and even blast beats, and this is the only song on the album where there's blast beats whatsoever. Shattered Wings featuring Petri Escalainen, there we go, from the band Rapture. And this track kind of goes for more of a Mastodon vibe, like the riffs and the rhythm section kind of screams more Mastodon to me. There's even some like lumbering groove going on, and this song has multiple leads, like hard rock oriented, I would say, in the second solos that you get on this track. And then we finish the album off with A Dusk of Vex featuring Jean Aldara from Barren Earth and Iotune. And this one, again, kind of going for more of like the Mastodon vibe. Like the melodies feel very Mastodon with heavy progressions on top. It gallops real nicely, some really tuneful, clean vocals. There's even a breakdown, which is probably the only time on the album where there's like a big breakdown of any sort. And that's pretty much all the songs. Like all these songs kind of are going for, like I said, more old school prog mixed with touches of melodic death metal. Although I will say, before I get to the big complaint, you do have the title track, but it's just a clean interlude. It's not bad, but kind of doesn't serve much of a purpose. Like it could have just been like a part on an earlier track, and I think it would have fit in just right. But as cool as the songs are, like the songwriting's pretty damn good on this album. The big problem, the production suffers big time, and it kind of takes away from these songs. Like the production's very uneven, quite muddy. It's just, this, I think, in terms of production, might have been one of the worst produced albums I have heard this year. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was intentional to sound this raw and muddy, but it didn't get approached right, at least in my personal opinion. And I think the album suffers big time because of that. The songs are really good, but the production, this is probably one of the worst produced albums I've heard this year. And unfortunately, because of how the production is the way it is, unfortunately, that knocks the score down to a 3 out of 5. Music-wise, like the songwriting, very strong. Like, if you like prog, death metal, melodic death metal, there's some really good stuff on here, but the production, it's almost hard to get through. But of course, that's all I got to say about that. But of course, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Keep your horns high and your dreams wet.
Thank you for your patronage.